one of our next guests, like so many other caregivers of Alzheimer's patients, what she thought was too soon to talk to her 84-year-old mother about the end of her life wishes quickly became too late. Having that difficult yet necessary conversation and alleviating some of this burden is the goal of the Conversation Project, a public engagement campaign and national nonprofit with the mission to ensure that everyone's end-of-life care wishes are both expressed and respected by encouraging communication early and often. Now, the window of time to have these conversations is especially short for Alzheimer's patients who are often diagnosed after having had the disease for some time, and as the disease progresses, lose both the cognitive and communication skills necessary to have such a difficult conversation. To tell us more about the Conversation Project, we've invited its founder, Ellen Goodman, also former Boston Globe columnist, and also Joanna Baker, who is, as we mentioned, the caregiver of her mother who has Alzheimer's and has used the Conversation Project to help talk about end-of-life care issues. Welcome to Urban Update, ladies. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Ellen, let me start with you. What was the motivation behind the Cambridge nonprofit that you founded, the Conversation Project?
Well, the Conversation Project really started out of a story. I mean, everybody has a story about an end of life for someone that they love. And for me, it started after my mother's death, because for a long time, toward the end of her life, she was in decline, and she couldn't say what she wanted for lunch, let alone what she wanted for health care. And we had talked about everything except how she wanted to be cared for towards the end of her life. And I had those decisions cascading down on me, and I realized after she died that this was true for everyone. You know, as a journalist, you suddenly discover, my God, everybody has a similar story, and what can we do to make this easier for people? And that's why we started the Conversation Project and put together a conversation starter kit that would help people talk about their values and what mattered to them, not a scary medical kit.
Okay, and I want to talk about that conversation, but Joanna, let me get you in here. Now, how was your mom when she was diagnosed? I know you were not able to talk to her about her end-of-life care issues before it was too late, and I'm also wondering, how do you make health decisions for her now?
My mom was diagnosed when she was 78, and she's 84 now. And when she was 78, I didn't believe that she had Alzheimer's, but a doctor identified it as possibly Alzheimer's. So we were well into the disease when it became clear that I needed to take over a lot of things for her. In addition to end of life, there's the more immediate financial, legal, just living life. And we began by making sure they were safe financially, because people can be subject to financial abuse. I had to make sure my healthcare proxy was up to date, because I would be speaking on her behalf. And we basically rolled through all those practical things without having this heartful conversation about, gee, how do you want to be treated when your life is coming to its close, in part because she couldn't process the information.
Okay. Now, Ellen, talk to me about, I guess, the Conversation projects, the starter kit. Just sort of what can you, the tips you can give people, or what? How does this quote-unquote starter kit work?
Well, first, Joanna is doing a wonderful job, and she's there are 5 million people with Alzheimer's in this country. And so there are 5 million families going through what she's going through, and we're trying to, very often, the biggest motivation to have a conversation with the people you love before there is a crisis is the fear that you won't be able to make those decisions for yourself, and you'll leave your family in the lurch trying to figure out what it was that you wanted. So our Conversation Starter Kit really asks some questions about values. What matters to you? Not what's the matter with you, but what matters to you at the end of life. Are you a person, for example, who wants the doctor to tell you everything, or not so everything? Are you a person who wants to be at home towards the end, or would you be more comfortable being in a hospital? So it's all kinds of questions about that part of it, not what procedures you might want to have. And that makes it easier to really think carefully, because nobody on earth, there's no checklist long enough to figure out what you might have to decide in terms of medical treatment. But if you have those guideposts for someone you love about what really matters to them, that can help you as decisions have to be made. And that's true for for people with cognitive problems.
Joanna, how do you think this would have helped you had you had these tools when your mom or before your mom was diagnosed?
This journey feels like a journey you take all by yourself, and I'm so grateful that Ellen can acknowledge that. So if there were a kit to guide me and to show me a way into this conversation, A, I would have had guideposts. B, I wouldn't have felt so alone, because everybody struggles with these issues alone if you haven't had the conversation. When you realize you're part of a bigger kind of societal dilemma that we're not willing to talk about end of life, or we don't feel like we have the language, and now you're supported by a great kit like the one that they developed, you can ease into what is the most natural thing in the world, end of life.
Ellen, why do people have such difficulty in having these conversations? Or why don't they have the conversations?
Well, the conversation is about a big taboo, which is death, you know. But people, we did a survey that said that 90% of Americans think that it's important to have these conversations. And 90% of Americans don't agree on anything. They don't agree on the national anthem, but they're agreeing on this, and yet only 30% have done it. So they need to have some sort of tools to help them, something to guide them and something to hold their hand as they're going through it, and that's what we've tried to provide.
And to wrap things up here, I guess, so how can someone find out more about the Conversation Project and find out about the starter kit and everything?
Our starter kits are available on our webpage, which is theconversationproject.org. Everything is available there. You can download them. They don't cost anything. You can share them with other people. And you should, as we like to say at the Conversation Project, do it soon, because it always feels too soon until it's too late.
Okay, and we'll end it right there. Those are good words to leave ringing in everyone's ears here. Ellen Goodman, Joanna Baker, thank you both for coming in. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, when we return, living from the heart and how it can lead to a joyful and productive life, all the details from an 83-year-old author, artist, and teacher who considers herself living proof that the heart holds the key to life. Coming up right here in Urban Update.